Who were you before you lost your wild self?
That's what we're helping you explore on the Tend Her Wild podcast.
Through questions and tools around how best to listen to your inner voice,
rewild ourselves, and live the most authentic life where we thrive instead of survive.
I'm Betsy.
And I'm Kate.
And we're so glad you've joined us for this episode.
Hello, Tend Her Wild podcast listeners. Welcome to today's episode. It's just Betsy and I talking about a topic that is kind of near and dear to both of our hearts.
Very fresh in our minds.
Very fresh. And that is the heroine's journey, and really the part of the journey that's the initiation.
Yes, we all got initiated. 44 of us collectively got initiated on the island of Paros, Greece, for a women's retreat that you and I both just returned from.
Yes. And the power of the feminine is, I think we both feel it so much that we wanted to capture it on this episode. And our experience, and really, we listened back, and we're going to encourage listeners to listen to episode 60.
Which is the first time we introduced this idea of the heroine's journey, which is not our idea. We have to always shout out to Maureen Murdock, who wrote the book, The Heroine's Journey.
Right.
And in that episode, we talked about sort of how it's in contrast, or not in contrast. I think it supports the hero's journey, which is, of course, Joseph Campbell's birth child. And Maureen Murdock said, well, if there's a hero's journey, there's got to be a heroine's journey. And so she wrote this amazing book and set out this really beautiful model of that. When the masculine, or the masculine energy has a hero's journey, it's going up and out into the world. It's slaying, the dragons and the challenges of the world. Whereas the feminine journey is more in and down.
In and down.
And so this week on retreat, we did a lot of inward looking and grounding down. And there were some pretty miraculous unfoldings that happened.
There really were. In a space in the world, in a place in the world, where the feminine, I've never felt the feminine so strongly. The history of the feminine. That there was an underpinning of the feminine, and it's probably because of the goddess work and the mythology and remembering back of all the stories, but seeing the temples, knowing what
many
occurred.
Feminine goddess temples around this country of Greece. In fact, before retreat started, you and I and a couple other people, we went to the temple of Demeter, who would have been the mother of Persephone, who got pulled into the underworld. So we were able to see some pretty amazing feminine sites. Interestingly enough, we met someone. Do you remember that one of those first days we met a woman who was an American, and she had opened a shop in
this Oregon
town on the island of Naxos, actually. And she said that, yes, there are many goddess sites, but the Greek people don't really honor it.
Yeah.
And many of those sites have been covered up with like the masculine god sites, like the Temple of Apollo covers, what would have been an ancient feminine site. And so she said, surprisingly enough, it's very patriarchal here, and there is so much feminine magic, but the native people don't really see it or embrace it. So we were fascinated by that as well.
Yeah, and a little sad. I mean, it was sad. It was sad. It also made me think of our current culture here in the United States, and how there's kind of this movement to kind of erase women, taking them off websites, taking down some of the accomplishments of women. And so it did feel, yes, I felt the presence. It was there.
Yes, it was there.
Under the rubble.
You had to look for it.
You had to look.
Keep your eyes and your heart open.
And that woman at the store told us the walk to take to find the actual, remember the garden that we went to?
Yeah.
So it was like,
it was a secret. Like she's like, there's this great goddess walk and you need to go to it, but it's not really publicized, and I'll tell you where to go.
Yeah. So again, it's a lot like, cultures everywhere.
Well, and I think that segues really well into why does the feminine, I mean, historically, even in Greece, we were seeing the feminine got pushed down. There was pre-patriarchy, there was this idea that it was more of a goddess culture where there was, equality and there was peacefulness and there were no wars. But then it got trampled, trampled, I almost said.
That's a word.
Yeah. By, patriarchy. It's been around now for many, many thousands of years. So why is it that the feminine keeps sort of getting pushed down? And one of the things we really learned in this week is that from an energetic perspective, and again, when we talk about masculine and feminine, we said this in episode 62, we're not talking about men versus women. Right. We're talking about these energies that all men and women, no matter how we identify, no matter our gender identification, our sexual orientation, we all carry masculine and feminine energy. It's not men versus women. Right. But the feminine is what holds power. It's creation. We are the creatrix. The feminine is the creatrix. And so it holds a lot of power. And the masculine is equally as important. It holds consciousness. It holds space. It holds awareness. We need them both. But there is a lot of fear of feminine power. Right. Feminine power is not power over. Right. Which is so important. It's power within. Yes. And I think that's where we get tripped up with this idea of power, because what we've seen in patriarchal culture is power over. Right. Yeah. And some of the stories, and we get into some of the goddess work, but they used to rely on women to tell them if is it a good idea to go to war? What does your intuition say about this complex issue? And they would go to the women for wisdom. Yeah. Yeah. And so yes, even the power of intuition and was honored. In fact, I went at the end of the trip to a site called Delphi, which is the site of the feminine oracle, meaning all the kings and the government officials would travel to this site up in the mountains. And there was a woman there who, by the way, was a middle-aged woman. She was 50 plus. It says. Love that. They used to have younger oracles, but then they would get raped by the men that would come to receive guidance. So to put an old woman in there. An old woman in there. This is the history that I learned. Yeah. But that all these big, powerful men would come to consult the oracle, to ask this peasant woman who had clearly psychic gifts questions. And it is said that she predicted many things, such as the Trojan War, and she was able to see into the future. And so people would come ask for their guidance, and decisions were made based on what she offered. So there was an honoring of that feminine intuition. Yeah. When it served them. when it served them. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sam, founder of the Local Hub. When I moved to Iowa City, I felt like a tourist, and I'm sure you can relate if you've ever moved somewhere new or just haven't explored your city in years. Supporting local has never been more important, and the Local Hub makes it simple. It's a community-first way to uncover the local businesses, events, and hidden spots that make an area feel like home. If you're in the Iowa City area, you'll find us online, in print, and on social media, all designed to keep you in the loop about what's happening here. Visit thelocalhub-ic.com and start living like a local.
Well, should we talk about?
Yeah. So when you and I re-listened to episode 60, which we encourage all of our listeners to listen to if you haven't listened to it, it really is a beautiful setup of this heroine's journey, which is what we did on this week-long retreat. We did the heroine's journey. And the first steps, which we talked about in episode 60, were we have to reclaim the feminine, the parts of our feminine that we've lost, which look like our body and our intuition, our emotions, our softness. And then we have to heal our wounded masculine, which looks like our overworking, our over-efforting, our high need for control, our perfectionism. But it's the feminine that heals the masculine, not the other way around. So that's what we talked a lot about in that first episode 60. And we're like, okay, part 2 today. Yeah. Because those are just 2 parts of the heroine's journey. The part that we really dove into in this retreat was what Maureen Murdock called the initiation, which is the descent to the goddess.
And yeah, the goddess energy was with us all week.
And it's interesting because wouldn't you say, Kate, that even just looking around our culture, there's more conversation about the goddess, whether it's you're such a goddess or like even that whole term has sort of it's like emerging again. Like it's coming back.
Yes, I totally agree. I think most people would, especially women, understand kind of goddess energy. Like when you say someone feels like, you look like a goddess or you are a goddess, I think we know intuitively what that means. It's deep in all of us.
Yeah.
And I do think people speak and use that term more.
I do too.
Now.
I do too. And what's interesting, Maureen Murdock, when she writes about this as part of the step on this heroine's journey, she actually doesn't spell it out very clearly. She just says, you descend and you meet the goddess. And I had a pretty profound goddess experience about 5 years ago where I heard this voice, and I don't need to get into all the details of it now, but I felt like, okay, I'm being asked of something right now. But I had no idea what the goddess meant. And so what we explored this week is the field or the esoteric discipline of yoga has all kinds of goddess energy in it.
Mm-hmm.
They really honored the goddess. They have all kinds of different forms of the goddess. And then Greece, where we were, has all kinds of forms of the goddess. In fact, Athens.
Yes, we were there.
It's named after the goddess Athena.
Yeah.
So all these different cultures really honored this goddess energy and that there were many forms of this divine feminine energy. And so every day we sort of worked with a different yogic goddess and kind of tried to embody that energy, and where we learned about where we were deficient, where we maybe had too much energy, what we needed to bolster, what we needed to not shy away from. So it was powerful.
Yeah. And to me, as we went through the week and you would introduce the different goddesses, it almost felt like, this desire for balance of the masculine and feminine is a lot to me about wanting to have wholeness or feel whole.
Yeah.
And so the goddess energies felt like, yes, where am I deficient? Oh, I see what she embodies. That's something that I long for more of, or I want to step into. Other goddesses were like reality check goddesses, tell you the truth. And so I guess what I'm saying is I loved having this idea throughout the week of where do you resonate, what resonates with you, what energies are already in you, what do you to tap into more. And there's a sense of wholeness when you look at kind of all the goddesses. They each have their strengths.
Yeah.
And so we can learn something from each of them.
Yeah. And I agree that we can learn where we're a little deficient. I think the most profound day, at least for me, was the day we worked with. So we sort of worked with the 7 faces of the divine feminine. So we worked with the mother archetype. We work with sort of the creative lover archetype. We worked with the warrioress archetype. We worked with the sage archetype, the mystic archetype, the queen archetype. So we sort of went through all these different archetypal forms. But the one that was most powerful for me is when we worked with sort of this warrior, huntress, sort of powerful goddess. And what was so interesting for me is that as I was teaching, we worked with the goddess Kali, who's well known for being powerful and intense and cutting off the heads of our egos and
honest.
Super honest and loving, but fierce, really fierce. And as I was teaching this, I remember looking out at this group of women and, some people were like shaking their heads like, yeah, bring it on. I love this. And other women, myself included, actually quite like, all right, this is not my normal ferociousness. And that's fascinating because I think some of the women that spoke up around like, I loved it, bring me more Kali every day. Maybe what they learned is they actually need to work with more soft archetypal energy because they have so much ferociousness in them that they need to temper some of that with more softness.
Yeah.
Whereas me, who tends to be uber soft, like, I need that ferocious fierceness to step up in new ways. So I think, it's sort of like the goddess you wanted to reject the most is maybe the one you needed the most.
That's so true. That's so true.
What did for you? What was the one
thinking
that
about that? I mean, I have, I would say, Kali in the beginning was when I first started working with her years ago. I think you introduced me to it in yoga class.
Yeah.
Was the one that was the most like, I don't know if I remember thinking, am I ready for her?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question.
I now welcome her. And so I've kind of worked through any fears around her. I think for me, when I think about kind of my life and the stage that I'm in, I'm entering the crone era.
Yeah.
Which, as I listened to that episode 60 talking about my long gray hair that I envisioned,
yeah.
I'm getting closer to that, people. Thinking about how I'm going to tap into that and what, kind of the queen, I would say probably like
the queen.
entering the crone. And I feel like I'm on the edge of that.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have everything I need yet for that, but I know she's kind of sitting there waiting for me.
Beautiful.
If that makes sense.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that I think has a lot to do with the years of embracing some of the other goddesses and reclaiming my feminine, which in 60 I talked about a lot, right? Like she was deep in me and I had to excavate her.
Yeah.
That energy.
You've done a lot of work on that feminine.
Yeah.
And in episode 60, I talked about how I had to do a lot of healing of the masculine. And as I re-listened to it, I was very aware of how much I was still in, or maybe just coming out of so much anger towards the masculine. And that was also anger towards myself, because of course I hold masculine. And yeah, just seeing since that episode aired probably 2 years ago, 3 years ago, how much inner work has happened for me around really healing my inner masculine and healing some of my relationships with men in my life. And so you can tell that this process, this heroine's journey, isn't a one-time deal.
Right.
And I actually think the winter months are always the time to kind of go in and down and keep reclaiming parts of your feminine, keep healing the things in the masculine that are wounded. But it's not ever done.
I know.
It's a process.
So I was thinking about this as I re-listened to that episode, how even our relationship and our friendship, I sometimes feel like as you were going through the healing of the masculine and I was reclaiming my feminine, how women can show up for each other, or there's a connection we make, and we see it on retreat, how women connect with each other around, what they're going through or their experiences. And so I like, as you honor and get to know women on retreat, which we can get to know each other much deeper and quicker because of being together for a full week.
Yeah, sharing meals, opening up your energy, going on walks. Yeah, everything's right there.
Yeah. I was reminded that that's the power of the collective, which is very much the feminine. And when you think about the goddesses being together and sitting with one another and honoring one another's gifts, right? Because they all had unique gifts. It felt like we were doing a little bit of that with the 44 women.
I love that.
Because we stand to learn so much from each other if we're not in competition, if we're more open and, we set up the framework and the container for women at the beginning of retreat, which is always amazing to me how people honor that for the most part. It's like,
if you set the stage and you kind of set the container, people listen, and we did an episode on that just a couple episodes ago about the 4 agreements, that's a powerful structure for how retreat works so well, is that you don't speak poorly of each other. You're impeccable with your word. You do your best.
Yeah.
You don't take things personally. And I agree, then that opens the stage for all of us to
go
see
deeper.
each other and to go deeper and to take care of ourselves.
Yeah. It was a very nourishing week.
You and I both commented, because we've, been on many retreats together, but we both commented that at the end of this, what felt different. And it was interesting because you and I had completely different experiences during the week. But we both agreed that we felt we weren't tired in the same way that we often are at the end of a retreat. There was felt much more resourced than I have in any of the other retreats I've ever taught. I still don't quite fully fathom why that is. I'm curious if you have a sense, because you said the same thing. I'm not tired in the same way.
I wasn't. I usually come home depleted and exhausted. I wonder, it could have been, we had amazing food. I felt very nourished from a food perspective. I also think there was something about the sea.
Yeah, it was magic water, the Aegean Sea. Yeah.
And we spent time every day in that. And so I kind of wonder about, because we had some rainy days in the beginning. It wasn't like it was a beach vacation.
Weather,
no. But we did embrace the water. We were in the rain, we were on a boat.
We saw a full rainbow.
Yeah, full moon. We were there. There were just so many powerful elements, and many of them Mother Nature. I felt very connected to Mother Nature there.
Maybe that's part of it. And maybe as you're speaking about all of this, what it worked, what we set out to do worked, is reconnect to the feminine. And what is the feminine? The feminine is nature, and it is emotion, and it is intuition, and it's nourishing. The mother energy is inherently nourishing. And so maybe that's what it was, Kate, is that we were really tapping into the feminine in a very clear way. We were really, that was our intention. And so there was a whole lot of nourishing and care that came back to us, despite being leaders, despite being ones who are holding space and talking to people and teaching classes. And there was a rebound of a lot of nourishment coming back towards us.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to think that's what it is. Because I did definitely feel that. And I just want to honor all the amazing women we had with us.
Yeah.
They were...
Well, we had ages 28 to 74, I believe. So we had a big range. 3 mother-daughter
pairs, which was so beautiful to see. Having some younger women there with some of their reflections too was really powerful. It was, it just shows that the power of intergenerational connection and learning from one another and their insights and their, what I loved was their honoring of kind of the crone energy.
Yeah, they loved being with us crones. They're like, you guys are amazing.
Yeah, we're, so often I think we're hearkening back and wanting to go back, and we hear women wanting to be younger and looking younger and be younger. This felt very much like they could see the wisdom and the road women had taken, and all the wise knowledge and experience women had, and they were learning from that.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of gratitude around that, which felt really, really great as a woman to feel and see.
And I have to say that those young women, those 28-year-old women, were wise in and of themselves and carried, I have to do a big shout out to one. We had 2 young Michelles, but one of the Michelles, the California Michelle, she pushed me in a really powerful way. So it was the last day before we were ready to go. And I was having breakfast at the table with her mother and another woman. And I said, I really, really wanted to get to Delphi. I don't think it's going to work. I'm flying with 2 other people, change tickets, so expensive. And this young 28-year-old looks at me and she was like, what? You're this close? Why wouldn't you take an extra day? You don't know when you're going to get back here again. That's ridiculous. The people you're traveling with are adults. They can take care of themselves, So she interestingly enough, put me in my place. And if it wouldn't have been for Michelle, I would not have gone back to my hotel room and got out
the story, because it's so...
Oh, yeah. So I'd done so many changes of my tickets, and I spent so much money on change fees. So I said to myself, okay, if I can get a ticket for under $333, including the change fee and the difference in fare, I will stay an extra day and go to Delphi to see where the oracle is.
And 3 is the goddess.
And 3 is the number of the goddess. So I was like, all right, if I can get it for under 333, that's what I'm going to do. And so the first flight I opened, it was going to be like $980. And then the second flight I opened, it was like $670. And I was thinking, well, yep, it's not going to happen. Third flight, number 3, third flight I opened, it was going to be 67 cents. 67.
Crazy.
So I was like, wow, I guess I'm going to Delphi.
Yeah,
and I did. And the 2 women I traveled with were adults and they did fine without me traveling. I mean, it was all so perfect. But the point is this young, like we all share and we all have such strengths as women. Mm-hmm. And this young 28-year-old was like, that is ridiculous. Why wouldn't you go?
Seize the moment.
Yeah. So thank you, Michelle.
Yeah. Oh, I learned so much from so many women that were there too. People, I think I left really feeling like we are all carrying things.
Yeah.
And it's easy to forget that when we're going about our day, but you just don't often know the depth of which some women are carrying. Yeah. And certainly, women were drawn there for a reason, but the vulnerability and the way women kind of cared for one another while we were there gives me such hope, and also, exemplified the need for increased feminine energy in our world, and for all of us to step into that because that is what we need right now.
Yeah. And I remember in the final circle, one of the very crone women said just that. She's like, I think we were all here because the world needs our feminine energy more than ever right now. And this is a time for all of us to step up.
Yeah.
And I do think that could have been a part of why we were all asked to go and to come together and work within ourselves so that we all had the strength and the inner power to go back and then share our unique skills or talents with the world. Because you're right, we're in a challenging place in the world right now. And I do think there's that really beautiful quote that I wanted to share here about why the feminine is so powerful. There's a dire need for the feminine globally to be able to soothe, integrate, and harmonize what is happening in humanity. The holding of the feminine is essential for humanity to move through the spiritual rebirth. So this idea that we are in a rebirth in our world right now. And so we need the feminine more than ever because she's the medicine. She's the love. She's the power. She's the
creator.
She's the creator.
She creates life. Yeah. And so
she creates new life. Yeah.
Yeah. As we move into this new era, whatever it's going to look like, we need the women not just at the table, but leading the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Do you want me to share a few?
I would love to hear some of these. I haven't heard any of them yet.
No, this is going to be a surprise for you. Okay. So these are just a couple women shared these with us. And the first one is from our big fan, Michelle, who I absolutely adore, got to know.
Well, there were 3 Michelles.
I loved all the Michelles.
We had 3 beautiful Michelle.
Yeah, but a local Michelle I had not met before. She says, spending a week on the breathtaking island of Paros with 44 incredible women was nothing short of life-changing. From the moment we arrived, the beauty of the Aegean Sea, the warmth of the sun, and the peaceful rhythm of the island set the tone for a deeply transformative experience. Each day began with purpose: morning meditations overlooking the ocean, heartfelt yoga practices that opened both body and soul, and nourishing meals shared in laughter and connection. The energy among the women was powerful. Strangers quickly became sisters as we supported one another through moments of release, reflection, and renewal. The retreat was about so much more than yoga. It was about inner healing, letting go of what no longer serves us, and rediscovering the strength and wildness that's always been within. It was about empowerment, standing tall, embracing our authentic selves, and realizing the beauty of vulnerability. And it was about connection to the earth, to spirit, and to one another. By the end of the week, we left Paros not just rejuvenated, but transformed, our hearts full, our spirits lifted, and our souls forever connected through this shared journey of awakening.
It's beautiful. I think Michelle also left with a tattoo that she got in Athens.
I think
she really did leave change.
She did. She did.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle, for that.
Yes. And then Kelly wrote, there's an energy about the Greek islands and the Aegean Sea that inspires connections to ancient archetypal qualities and story. The retreat brought these to life for me, and I felt supported and safe to dive deeper into my personal story. I truly experienced more lightness of being after unraveling some deep storylines from my childhood. I know better now how to recognize masculine-feminine wounding and how to support myself with healing meditations and movement practices that honor my inner goddess. I appreciate how available Betsy, Kate, and Kimberly were throughout the retreat and made time for one-on-one conversations as questions, realizations, synchronicities, and dreams came up.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Beautiful.
For that,
a lot
Kelly.
of people had powerful dreams that week, which I think is part of the processing of our psyches. It comes out in dream.
Yeah. And, I know retreats are, an investment, and I certainly honor that it's, not always possible for everyone. But being able to take a full week can kind of catapult your healing in a way, because you aren't taking care of anyone else necessarily. And it does kind of provide this time and space. I remember thinking time just kind of stands still.
Yeah.
In a way.
A whole different quality.
And so there is the opportunity for a lot of deeper healing in a shorter amount of time. So thank you, Kelly, for that. And
Beautiful.
Kelly from California.
Kelly from California. Yeah, a lot of quantum leaps forward for people during a week where we got to really connect deeper with this feminine. Yeah. And I just want to put a shout out that if anyone is interested, I'm going to teach starting in November, Reclaim Again, which is the heroine's journey and the descent to the goddess. And so it's like a 10-week course where we work with all the different goddesses, and it's online. You can be anywhere. I was going to put it away, but this
I don't think you could put it away.
Brought up so much more richness and new perspectives, and really going to some of these places where the goddesses had temples was just moved something very deeply. And I think what we've already touched on is that now more than ever, we actually need to heal our feminine so we can help heal the masculine, and we can look around and see all the wounded masculine in this world. Not only in men, but in other women, and ourselves, and structures, and institutions.
Our society in general, really, is coming from a very wounded masculine place right now. However, we know the light and the dark is part of, it's another way to put it, right? We need to balance the light and the dark. And the light, I felt this very much at Greece, and I feel this in the last week or so being back home. The light is here, and it's coming. I really believe that, but it's up to each of us to find the light in ourselves. And that does require down and in.
And to deal with the dark. And I wouldn't say dark is bad, light is good. It's just like we all carry these opposing energies. Right. But if we can work with both of them and honor both of them, and actually really see where we're stuck, what our shadow is, then we do have more capacity to discern what's right, to make better decisions, and I think to be of deeper service to the world, which is, in my opinion, why we're all here.
What's our purpose?
Service, and make this world a better place in each of our own unique ways. So,
Well, thank you for being part of and holding
you
amazing
for
experience. It was
being a part of it. It really was. Thanks, Kate.
Thanks, Betsy.
Thanks for joining us today. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review. Come back and rewild with us again next week.